Welcome back. Last clip I explained the lipid bilayer studded with proteins as the plasma membrane of cells. In this clip, I'm going to explain the modes of transport of material through this membrane. We will look at diffusion, osmosis, active transport, endocytosis, and exocytosis as a means of transport through the cell membrane. The entry and exit of materials in and out of cells is a crucial process. Without the movement of materials across the cell membrane, the cell is not able to survive. Waste would build up, and materials required for cellular processes such as respiration and protein synthesis would not be accessed. Let's look at some of the modes of transport. Firstly, we're going to explore passive transport. There's the modes of diffusion, facilitated diffusion, and osmosis. Passive transport means that no energy is required for the movement of these materials. This type of transport moves along the concentration gradient from high to low. It can happen directly across the cell membrane as diffusion or through the use of proteins in the membrane as for facilitated diffusion. Diffusion is the movement of any type of molecule from high to low concentration until an equilibrium is reached. A simple example of this phenomenon is when a perfume is sprayed in the corner of a room and the particles spread to fill it. In a human body, an example is when oxygen and carbon dioxide diffuse across the cell membranes in lung alveoli cells. Oxygen moves into the cell with the concentration gradient, and carbon dioxide moves out of the cells with the concentration gradient. Osmosis is the movement of water molecules and dissolved substances, known as solutes, from high concentration to low concentration through the selectively permeable membrane. Like diffusion, it works from high concentration to low concentration to reach equilibrium across the semi-permeable membrane. An example of this is the absorption of water from the soil is due to the process of osmosis. The plant roots have a higher concentration than the soil, therefore water flows from the soil into the roots. Osmosis works differently in different environments, and we'll look at this a little later in terms of isotonic, hypertonic, and hypotonic environments. Facilitated diffusion is a form of passive transport that involves the movement of individual ions or molecules through the protein channels of the cell membrane. This could be due to either the polarity of the substance or its ability to pass through the lipid bilayer. This form of transport still moves down the concentration gradient. Facilitated diffusion transports molecules such as sugars or amino acids. Active transport is the movement of molecules from low concentration to high concentration through the semi-permeable membrane. This type of transport works against the concentration gradient and requires the input of energy in the form of ATP. This type of transport utilizes protein pumps activated by energy. Examples of active transport include the uptaking of glucose in the intestines in humans or the mineral ions in root hairs of plants. Think of it this way. The concentration gradient is like a hill, and the molecule is a bicycle with a rider. Passive transport is like going down the hill on the bicycle. It's easy and doesn't require any energy input. Whereas active transport is like going up a hill. It requires energy to get there. Now, these modes of transport I've explained so far are great for small molecules like water and salts and gases. However, some particles are too large to move through the membrane through diffusion or active transport. There are two modes of transport for these large macromolecules, such as food, water, proteins. These processes are called endocytosis and exocytosis. So let's look at these words. Endocytosis is a Greek word meaning for the process of insertion into the cell. Endo meaning in, cytosis meaning cell insertion. Exocytosis is the removal of materials from inside the cell. Both these modes of transport are active transport, meaning that they require energy to occur, and the material takes the form of a vesicle, which is a small cavity that is membrane bound. It's a bit like a bubble. In the process of endocytosis, the cell membrane changes its shape and engulfs the material surrounding it. When the bubble closes, the membrane fusion occurs, and that basically means that it reseals. Recall that the plasma membrane is able to heal itself. This means that the fusion is able to occur due to the phospholipids. This then forms a vesicle that then stores and transports the material within the cytoplasm of the cell. There are two types of endocytosis: phagocytosis, which is for solid materials, and pinocytosis, which is for fluid substances. In the process of exocytosis, the vesicle moves outwards towards the membrane. It then fuses with the membrane and releases the contents to the outside of the cell. Examples include the secretion of enzymes and proteins and other substances. All of these transport processes are crucial for the maintenance of a stable internal environment. This is called homeostasis. We'll explore homeostasis in the near future. See you next time.